Let's turn our attention toward the topic of COVID-19 and the guy who's been with us every step of the way since this whole pandemic thing got rolling well over a year and a half ago. And that's our good friend, Dr. Dennis Norem from Mercy Health, taking time out of his busy day once again. Dr. Norem, good morning to you.
Good morning to you guys.
How's everything going with you?
I'm doing well, trying to get used to a new phone.
Oh, congratulations, by the way.
That'll be about 10 days worth of whoops. I'm not sure what I'm doing here, or maybe that's just me.
Are you one of the people that upgrades your phone every year or two, or did you have something from the mid-aughts in your pocket?
I think I had something from the last century. I retired my iPhone 6 yesterday.
Ooh, that is old.
Okay.
That's good.
A year ago, bag phone went by the wayside. So, moving right along. Well, we've all been there. Well, and we wish you well in getting through all of this.
Good luck remembering your passwords.
Yeah, there's that too. Lots of different things to talk about on the topic of COVID-19, including Illinois gearing for a full opening up. What are your thoughts?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is what we've all been, I think, anxiously waiting for, to see this opening. Now, there are some caveats with it in that there's still going to be mask requirements, as you summarized on the news, healthcare facilities, buses, trains, traveling, those kinds of things. But we're supposed to lift all the capacity limits, and people should be able to go out and do the things they want to do. But we're still not where we need to be on vaccinations. That's my concern. And in that vein, I see there was a little blurb in the news that a restaurant over in Marengo had a little outbreak, a couple weeks ago. And they had recommended some quarantine some people. So, there are enough people out there that aren't vaccinated. We're going to see those kind of little episodes pop up here and there. So please get vaccinated.
And when we see those popping up, is that going to be the impetus to get more people vaccinated? I just feel like we've kind of hit a wall here on the vaccinations and getting to that. What was the magic number we want to get to? 70%?
We're still saying 70%. I believe what I saw is in Illinois, the adults were a little over 50% fully vaccinated, maybe 60% with one shot. Obviously, we don't have the kids there yet because that was just approved for Pfizer, and Moderna will probably get their approval for 12 and up. So we still have a little ways to go. But if we could get to that 70% fully vaccinated, we could probably avoid any of these little episodes where groups of people will end up being positive. But it still remains to be seen.
So if we do get to 70%, I mean, will we go back to normal? Like no more even talking about masks if we go to the doctor's office, or is that just part of it for the long haul? Because I mean, if it's just busting out or preventing small outbreaks in Marengo here and there, I don't know if that's enough of an impetus to get people vaccinated.
I don't know either. And then we get into the issue of how long does the immunity last? Do we need booster shots? Are we going to see this as a seasonal thing? If we do see a seasonal uptick, are we going to have to go back to mitigation with masking and distancing? I think that all remains to be seen. We just don't quite know yet where that's going to be. But I think we should look on the positive and say, hey, look where we're getting. We're finally getting to a point where we can see that the pan epidemic here, at least in the United States, seems to be under some reasonable control, and we can start to function more normally.
Looking at a piece the Associated Press put up over the weekend with a headline reading, "Heart Reaction Probed as Possible Rare Vaccine Link in Teens." And it goes on to point out that health authorities are trying to determine whether heart inflammation that can occur with many types of infections could also be a rare side effect in teens and young adults after the second dose of COVID-19 vaccination. Article on 7 U.S. teen boys in several states published online Friday in Pediatrics is among the latest reports of heart inflammation discovered after COVID-19 vaccination, though a link to the vaccine has not yet been proven.
Yeah, I think this is analogous to what we saw with some of the other side effect issues. it takes a lot of work to try to figure out if there's really cause and effect. Clearly, there was a little bit of an association, but again, everybody that's being vaccinated, I think we're very sensitive to look for side effects. One of the requirements is we don't give other vaccines within 2 weeks of the COVID vaccines, just so we don't confuse side effects. And clearly, they're picking up a few kids with this inflammation of the heart, but is it really cause and effect, or is it just coincidence? Because we're so sensitive about looking for these side effects.
You mentioned earlier about maybe booster shots coming up. When will we know? Because when do we start vaccinations? February? It was not until 2021, right?
Right.
So, pardon?
Yeah, very early 2021, if I remember correctly. I think I got my shot in early February. Late January.
So if it's an annual booster that maybe we'll need, will that be coming around in February, or do we have the technology in us to get that turned around so quick we start thinking about a booster, next month, something like that? When will we know if we need to get another booster?
I don't think we're going to know that until probably sometime this fall. I think it's going to take several more months. The most recent article I saw on immunity suggests that the immunity is good for at least a year, but we've only really had a year to study it, so it's going to take a little more study. One of the issues that's come up is we know that the antibodies tend to disappear maybe as early as 3 months in some people, may last as long as 6 months, but the immunity lasts much longer than what the antibodies show, so it's going to take a little more time and testing to tell how long is the immunity going to last.
When does that mean, having the antibodies, the difference between having the antibodies and being immune? The antibodies, so if I've got the vaccination, I have antibodies in me right now, but if they go away, my immunity would allow me to create more antibodies if the virus became present in my body. Is that how it works?
Yes, basically that's how it works. Your B cells, and you have B cells and T cell lymphocytes. The T cells are, we call tissue immunity, which attacks invaders in the body through certain cells and tissue. The B cells produce antibody. In some viral infections, those antibodies persist lifetime. Measles, mumps, rubella, you can measure your antibody titers virtually your whole life and see that they're still present. Other types of infections and viruses, the antibodies disappear, but the B cells have memory. They remember that they've already seen that virus, and they can make the antibodies very quickly if they are again exposed to that virus. So we think that shows that the immunity can last much longer than the disappearance of the actual antibody.
Which we'll go over better with the public, thinking, well, I was just vaccinated in March, and now I'm in August, and I'm supposed to go back again.
Yes. At the end of the day, we still need, obviously, the clinical studies to show. I mean, it's fine to measure antibodies and tissue immunity and all that good stuff, but at the end of the day, we need to see how all of us respond to being exposed again to the coronavirus. And at what point are we going to need boosters? And I don't think anybody's quite figured that out yet, but certainly that is going to be a huge issue moving forward.
Along the lines of not seemingly figuring things out yet or still trying to figure out as we go along, another Associated Press story saying most vaccinated California workers must keep their masks on. Regulators approved a controversial rule on Thursday night of last week that allows workers to go maskless, but only if every employee in a room is fully vaccinated against the coronavirus.
I guess I would struggle with that. I kind of gotten to the point where if you have the opportunity to get vaccinated, which every adult does, and if you're vaccinated, as I am, the person that's not vaccinated is really of no risk to me, or extremely low risk. What is a risk is to themselves. And I guess if they want to take that risk, that's their problem. But I don't quite understand why they have to require a mask in that setting.
This is one of the things I think the public scratches their heads over, and this isn't. I'm not saying this as an attack, but I saw this over the weekend. I saw Dr. Fauci was at some appearance over the weekend, fully masked, and he was one of the first people to become vaccinated against COVID-19, and has basically become the face of the advice the American people are supposed to look toward. What does that say?
Well, what was the venue that he was in? Obviously,
I'm looking. I think it was a food bank. I'm not sure.
Again, and I've struggled with this as things have changed. As I take my mask with me and I look at the door, if I'm going into a store or whatever, and to see if there still is a sign. I mean, I don't think I need to be masked, but just to be a good steward, if the sign says you must wear a mask, then I'll put my mask on. And again, just to remind people, there's still requirements on transit, buses, planes, healthcare facilities. We are still masking. So I think it's one of those situations where until we get a little more comfortable, you need to comply with whatever the rules of the facility you're going in.
We've talked a couple times about the some of the unintended positives that might come out of the recent pandemic, and one of them I was reading the other day. And maybe this is one of those questions where you yell at me, and I'm not a virologist. Find somebody.
I say that to you all the time.
I know you do. But the plug and play aspect of this mRNA, vaccine development that we've kind of figured out. That's how we got this vaccine out so quick. We use this plug and play. That's the word I kept reading in articles about developing other vaccines down the road. Will this help us fight, numerous other viruses in the next couple decades that might pop up?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This technology is an incredible improvement over what we've had in the past. There was just an announcement. They're starting a study on a flu vaccine that could be long-term, could last for several years instead of the traditional flu vaccine that we have now. And I'm almost certain that's a mRNA, messenger mRNA, technology. The other thing that's interesting about this technology is not just viruses. It's being used in cancer. There's several ongoing studies of different types of cancer that they're doing messenger RNA vaccines that could be used to treat cancer.
So we could get a more effective flu vaccine out of this, and a cancer vaccine, which I never heard those two words put together before.
Yes, there's been a lot of interest in cancer vaccines, and I believe there was one approved a few years ago, but it was so expensive, and it never really got to any wide-term treatment. I think it was for prostate cancer, of all things. So there's been a lot of interest in vaccines. The idea that, if we can stimulate our immune system to knock out viruses and bacteria, why can't we stimulate our immune systems to knock out cancer cells? When in fact, our immune systems, when we are working efficiently, do knock out cancer cells during our lifetime. So there's a lot of interest in that.
Yeah, and this is one of these things, like with the space program. When the space program went up, we had no idea of the side benefits that would all of a sudden come back from a trip to the moon and all that would revolutionize the way we cooked, the way we made things, different substances that were put together simply for space flight that became part and parcel of everyday American life. Maybe everything we ratcheted up as far as a response to COVID, all of these other little things that we didn't realize will come down the line to be a benefit.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I think the thing that's been most exciting, I think, to me is the fact that, yes, they were able to ramp this up very quickly, but look how safe it's been. We talked at the beginning, the concern about what if we came up with some serious side effects and then people would not get vaccines. The messenger RNA vaccines have been extremely safe. There just hasn't been any evidence that there's been a serious side effect. I mean, we're always looking. We're always looking to see maybe there's something. Maybe there's something. We've given 300 million doses in this country. How many people have died from complications of the messenger RNA vaccines? I'm not aware of anybody.
Mm-hmm. It's worked out pretty good.
Yeah, it's worked out probably as well as one could have ever expected.
Well, and especially when you consider what the naysayers were saying when the whole thought that, within less than a year we'll come up with something.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not possible. Oh, that'll be 5 years down the line. I can remember a noted medical advisor, whatever, on TV. It'll be 5 years. You mark my words. That person said. I haven't seen them on TV a whole lot since then.
Right.
But at the time, it was going to be 5 years minimum, and here we are in 9 months, less than.
Let's see. We're probably
from the kickoff of warp speed to the point we started putting it in people's arms.
A little bit over a year.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is incredible. And then there was the concern again we're talking about. It's the safety concern. If we do this, it's not going to be safe. Something terrible is going to happen. People are going to have their genetic material altered and blah, blah, blah. There was all that stuff, and none of it's turned out to be true. It's been an extremely safe vaccine.
And that's where we stand, and Illinois is a beneficiary of it as we start to really whip things open toward the tail end of the week. Dr. Norem, as always, we appreciate the time. We appreciate the expertise. I don't think we're out of the woods yet, so if you got a few more of these visits left in you, we would welcome them.
Well, we'll keep at it, guys.
We appreciate it. There's Dr. Dennis Norem from Mercy Health.